So, Steelers fans, here we sit after an ass beaten in week one at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. And it's another dismal start for your Steelers team. This time coming a little bit earlier. Week one last year, we won week one. Let's hope we have a little bit of reverse psychology here and say, hey, we won week one last year and then dug ourselves into a deep hole. How about we lose week one this year and then we dig ourselves out right away and actually go on a little bit of a run? I don't know if that's going to be so easy when you're facing a team as the Cleveland Browns look to be Sunday. And I know it's week one, and I know a lot of crazy things happen in the NFL during week one. And I don't know if it's necessarily time for the fan base to be already hitting the panic button. I don't know. I mean, it could be. It could be time. Some people could be right. I've seen a lot of stupid comments out there about the team. A lot of dumb, just craziness, a lot of emotion-filled comments. But we have to all put into perspective the NFL season is long. And every team in the NFL usually takes an ass beating or two, no matter how good they are. The Chiefs have taken beat downs even when they've won Super Bowl years. Steelers have too. Good teams lose usually in the NFL season several times, and they look embarrassing and they look totally out of touch. And then they usually rebound. The good teams rebound. So let's see if this Steelers team can rebound and be better. But looking at yesterday's game and looking at it a little bit further, I didn't see any bright spots from it. The defensive line got blown off the ball. The offensive line got blown off the ball. The Kenny Pickett had his worst game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Just a horrible performance. Looked totally uncomfortable, totally out of touch with his wideouts. There was nothing to hang his hat on there. A couple good passes here and there, but nothing. He was never in rhythm, and I blame some of that on the coaching staff to where they should have settled some of his nerves early, went with the high pace, high quick tempo, got things moving, and kind of abandoned that huddle. Let Kenny maybe call some stuff. Let him get going and get comfortable, and allow him to get settled in week one in front of a big crowd and a lot of San Francisco fans there, which was kind of crazy to me. To allow them to take over that stadium and the way they did was kind of crazy. Kudos to the San Francisco 49ers fan base, because they really put on a performance there yesterday, and they changed the dynamic of that football game early, and it was very noticeable in my opinion. There was a sea of red in that stadium, and that is uncommon for anywhere the Steelers play. It's usually the other way around, and maybe that threw this team off a little bit. Not sure, but there's several factors that went into play yesterday. Again, Kenny missing receivers that were wide open down the field, forcing the football to players or to wideouts that necessarily were not good passes. They were bad passes, inaccurate, underthrown, overthrown, completely just out of reach for these guys. And then you're putting Najee Harris in there, giving him only 6 carries. Yes, he averaged 5.5 per carry, I believe, something of that nature, but he only got 6 carries. You were never able to establish that line of scrimmage. And when we were talking about the keys to this football game, we talked about that. You had to establish the line of scrimmage if you were the offensive line and prove that you had gotten a little bit better than you were last season, and prove that you could do a little bit more. And they weren't able to do that. That San Francisco defensive front owned the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, and vice versa. I felt like besides TJ Watt, the defensive front looked like that. The offensive line can't get pushed back 2-3 steps immediately. Soon as the ball's snapped, constantly. It's just constant pushback. And yes, I understand when they're pass protecting, they're sliding back a little bit anyway. I get that. I'm talking about when that first contact's made and that ball's snapped and that first contact's made, you can see when those guys are getting pushed off and they're getting beat. You can see that. And they were beat bad a ton. And again, Kenny was horrible. The wideouts were horrible. I felt like the routes weren't being run correctly. Also, I felt there was a lot of miscues in the route tree for the wideouts. I feel like they were not in good proper communication with Kenny. I thought Kenny would think they were going to be one place and they would be another. I felt like at times you need to sit down as a wide receiver and catch the football when you see your quarterback on the move instead of continuing on your route. Sometimes you just got to sit down and let him deliver the football and get it out of his hands before he gets killed. And I felt like those receivers weren't doing that. I felt like they underutilized George Pickens. I felt like they underutilized Calvin Austin. And I understand with the way that defensive front was dominating the Steelers' offensive line, it's hard to throw deep. It's hard to get a guy like Calvin Austin in the game. But what about a short, quick slant underneath, or, a 5-yard rolling the whole way across the field, quick underneath pass to get maybe a guy like Calvin Austin, Deontay Johnson in space? Didn't see any of that really. I felt like Matt Canada was really super predictable, running the same formation. I had it marked down at one point where I had seen the same formation and the same motion out of that formation with Allen Robinson from the wing, left to right, so many times. It was making me sick of seeing it. It was just disgusting to keep seeing it. So we know the offense has a ton to improve upon, and it needs to happen quickly because you have a tough matchup coming up against a divisional opponent that is almost a must win now, because you don't want to dig yourself in that ditch like you did last season. And it could be the same situation. We don't know yet. We'll see how this team rebounds. The defense, horrible. Like I said, TJ Watt, one of the shining stars. He's a star. He's always going to get his. But he's one guy, and you need a unit on the defense to be successful. And TJ did force a couple of the balls to be turnovers, things of that nature, causing some chaos, but nobody else was there. Everybody else was non-existent. The pass coverage was horrible. I felt like those defensive backs got destroyed. You cannot constantly be in that soft zone and have no aggressive nature, no ability to make plays. You're not challenging anything. You're not challenging the pass, not challenging the wide receiver. You're just letting them come out, sit down, catch the football for 18 yards, first down. When your defense has just put that 49ers offense into a 3rd and long, and you're moving Brock Purdy out of the pocket in those rare instances, and you force him to throw the ball down the field, and you're not even challenging him. There's not even a guy in the ballpark. How are guys that wide open? That's a defensive backfield failure completely. Schematically, the players doing wrong. It's tons of failures the whole way across the board. There's no way else to explain that. But the defensive backfield has to get better, and get better quickly. Super quickly, or the Steelers will be in super trouble, man. They'll be hurting. Now, there was a lot of hype for this team in the preseason, and I still think that hype could come true. I feel like the 49ers are probably one of the better top two teams in football right now. I think that could be the Eagles, the 49ers, 1 and 2 right now. Maybe even add the Dallas Cowboys with that defense that they have in there. Yeah, they're pretty damn good. There's several teams that are pretty damn good and complete. And the Bengals yesterday got beat down. So that's another team that I, underperformed. So week 1 can be kind of wonky and crazy. I get that. But when you have a performance like you did in that defensive backfield, you can't win many games. I mean, guys cannot be that wide open running free. They cannot just break off the route, sit down, and Purdy be in such sync with his wide receivers. He knew exactly where they were going to be, even when they weren't running the route that was designed. And that is what Kenny Pickett, that's what we want to see from Kenny Pickett, and we didn't see that. So the defense, the DBs, lack of consistent pressure, a lack of forcing Purdy to be uncomfortable, and we said that was a key to the game, and you didn't see that. He was very comfortable. Constantly being on the field for that defense. You can't take that many snaps and have no help from your offense, no sustained drives. The time of possession was totally off base, totally out of whack. And when you lose that possession time, that battle in the possession, holding that football, you typically lose the game, period. I mean, when you lose that battle, that tells the tale of who really won that football game. So, tons of injuries. Loss of Cam Hayward could prove to be huge for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. You got the loss of DeMarvin Leal with the elbow. A loss of Deontay Johnson with a hamstring. Larry Ogunjobi looked nicked up to me the whole time. That is going to be the big thing. Cam Hayward and that defensive front getting healthy, because you're missing Hayward, Leal, Ogunjobi. There's three people right off the jump. I mean, come on. Then you had Pat Freiermuth, who was nicked up, missing some time. Chooks Okorafor, that's an offensive lineman, nicked up. Could he miss some time? Those things could be big. And I know you have Broderick Jones, can slide Dan Moore over. Is Broderick Jones ready? Is that the boost this offensive line needs? Is to slide Dan over and then move Broderick in? Is that what needs to happen for this team and that offensive line? So many questions, and we get typical Mike Tomlin answers, and I think Mike's one of the better coaches, but I thought his performance Sunday was horrible. I thought his answers after the game were very generic, and I'm not expecting him to give much more than that. I'm a realist. I'm not wanting some elaborate answer from him, but he failed. He failed Sunday, and his coaching and his coordinators failed him badly. With their schemes and the way they had that game set up. It was totally just out of whack, man. And they were not on schedule defensively or offensively, and they didn't do anything that they wanted to do. Actually, it was the complete opposite. The San Francisco 49ers played the exact game that the Steelers needed to play to be successful against the 49ers. Control the clock, timely passes, always on schedule, good chemistry between the wideouts and the quarterback, good pressure from your defensive line, sealing those edges, not allowing things to get over top of you. They played the exact game that the Steelers needed to play. And it was just crazy how it looked up identical to all my keys that I thought for this game that needed to happen for the Steelers that the Niners were doing and doing so well. So, guys, I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. I don't think it's time to write this team off just yet. I don't think it's time to write Kenny Pickett off just yet. I think this team can bounce back, and I think this team does have the ability to make it and get the wheels on the bus moving a little bit and actually not getting in the hole like they did last season. And I think this team now, after that humbling experience in week one, it might have been just what the doctor ordered for this team, because now they're humbled. Now they're focused. They don't want to be embarrassed again like that. And I look for them now to get on a little bit of a roll. So I'm still keeping with this team. I'm still behind this team. There is a good chance they could go 0-2. Come Tuesday morning, they could be sitting 0-2. However, I think they're going to bounce back. I think they're going to even it up again and get themselves back to an even record. And I think they're going to take this experience and really learn from it. And there ain't much better of an opponent you could play in the NFL than that San Francisco team. So everybody else should be way easier, because that San Francisco team is built to win. Brock Purdy's the real deal. He's surrounded by a ton of weapons. The defense is if not one of the best unit in the NFL defensively. And look at their linebackers, the way they came downhill and filled the gaps and filled the holes and made big hits, big pass breakups. That's what you want to see from the Steelers' middle linebacker group. That's what they look to have one of the best inside linebacker groups in the league. I mean, they were flying to the football, filling the holes. That's what you want to see from this Steelers team. So now that they've seen the blueprint in the Niners, got their humble pie, and maybe Coach Tomlin and the coaching staff take their little dose of humble pie and not be so arrogant in the way they were, maybe things will change. Maybe things will turn around. Maybe just that was what they needed. So let's see what happens. I think they'll be okay. But we'll keep breaking this team down and keep looking at the things and keep trying to dissect things a little bit more as the week progresses. I appreciate you for stopping through. This is Mike Drop Sports. Until next time, peace.